So, what if the biggest obstacle in your life isn't your circumstances? What if it's not your job, it's not your finances, not your relationship, not your past? What if the thing holding you back is something you can't even see?
Mm,
Because today's guest says most people spend years trying to solve problems that aren't actually the problem. They change jobs, they leave relationships, they move cities, they take courses, they read books, yet somehow they keep ending up in the exact same place. Why? Because they never change the way they think. And until you do, your circumstances may change, but your life will not. So, welcome back to the show. Have you ever looked around at your life and thought, why do I keep ending up here? It's a different year, different people, different opportunities, but the same frustrations, the same fears, the same patterns. Today's guest believes that this isn't bad luck. It's not fate. And it's not because you're broken. It's because most people are trapped inside thinking patterns that they don't even realize they have. Joining us today is a very special guest. His name is Ted Santos, and he's the CEO of Turnaround Investment Partners and the creator of the Disruptive Leadership Model. For more than 2 decades, TED has helped organizations break through limitations, transform culture, and create massive growth. But the most fascinating thing about his work isn't what he does with companies, but it's what he teaches about the human mind. Because whether you're leading a company, building a business, healing from heartbreak, or trying to reinvent your life, the same principles apply. Ted, it's really good to see you again. Thanks so much for being back on the show. How are things going?
Great to see you also. Thanks for inviting me back. It's my pleasure. And as always, I enjoy the conversations with you. So all is well for me here in New Jersey.
Amazing, amazing. Number one question that came up when I was researching this topic is that so many intelligent, capable people stay stuck for years. And most don't even realize that they're really stuck. Some people can really feel it, but most people don't. Why does this happen?
Mm, wow. This is a pretty big conversation to have and really kind of gets at the essence of my work. So uh, you could say, you said something important, something about people not, you're not broken. And one of the things that gets people stuck is that there are all these beliefs, and all those beliefs are derivatives of conversations, people, things that people say. So if you look at a corporate culture, social anthropologists say a culture is a network of conversations. So what are the conversations that you're having? So if you're having a conversation that says, I'm broken, I need to be fixed, you've already started yourself off as a deficit, as something's wrong. And unfortunately, that's kind of a default setting. So it's like you were it's almost like you were given a shovel to dig a hole in your life from before you even started, as a child. So we start with this default as I'm broken, something's wrong with me and I need to be fixed. And then we are attempting to climb out of that and can't understand why we can't get why we're in the same place as you were saying. So conversations are really important and that's one of the big ones.
So, how can someone really tell the difference between having a real obstacle and then having that mental mindset obstacle?
Hmm. Well, a big part of it is, you and I talked, people talk about what are your daily habits. And that's an example of a conversation. And it's within that conversation, everyone speaks a certain kind of language. So habits are generally things you want to get rid of. You have a smoking habit, an eating habit. There are all kinds of habits that people have that undermine what you want to do. If you're playing golf and you have a habit of swinging your shoulder ineffectively, that's a habit you want to get rid of. And the way you get rid of habits is you practice. You practice doing it in a way that's most powerful, most effective. When I played sports, ran track, I played football. I never went to football habits. I went to football practice. And when you look at businesses talk about best practices, not best habits. So uh, just from your mind thinking about habits, that can make a big difference on how you address yourself in the world, how you see yourself. You see yourself as a habit forming or practices that empower you and support you in being more effective. So language is a big part of it.
Yeah, it's like I like how you word that because someone who's a smoker, they I when they identify as I am a smoker or I am a, you know, whatever it is, I feel like that those labels can really harm our progress in terms of changing those things. And so when we disconnect from those labels and say, you know, my habit is smoking or my habit is overeating or, you know, I have these habits, I think it changes that relationship with whatever it is so that you can look at it differently. It's not something that defines us, it's something that we do sometimes instead of being that.
Right. So just think of it, what I said at first. You have something that defines you. I'm broken and I have a smoking habit and I want to do better in life. But you
Hmm.
already see yourself as being broken with these habits that are not in your best interest. So what are the practices that you can put in place in your life that move you forward, as they say, move the needle forward?
Hmm. Why do you think people keep repeating the same patterns? So it's like this, the people who date the same person in a different body, or they quit a
Right,
job
right.
only to get a job that's very similar. Um, Health stuff, exercise. Like, why do you think people keep repeating the same patterns over and over again?
Okay, so I'm going to do something that seems counterintuitive. Um, se eu quero falar contigo em outro idioma, você pode entender-me? Sim ou não? Well, see, I spoke a language that you don't speak. I spoke in
Right.
Portuguese, and I asked you, if I speak to you in another language, can you understand me? Yes or no? So
So I
we
can't.
speak we speak a language that supports where we are. So one, I'm going back to this. One language is I'm broken and I have all these habits I want to get rid of, and I don't know how. And I don't know how because I'm broken. And if only I could fix myself. If people are looking for the silver bullet or this quick fix, if I can just do this one thing. Tiger Woods is an excellent example of someone who could go through a transformation. So Tiger Woods would be the champion in golf. And then he changed his swing. And when he changed his swing, he had to unlearn his old swing. And his old swing was good, or maybe it was hurting his hip. Maybe it was unsustainable long term, right? So he changed the swing. And when he changed his swing, his performance went down. And that's where people get stuck, right? So if I'm used to doing well in this and I want to try something else and I'm not doing well, I go back to the old way. So if I want to quit smoking and I'm going through withdrawal or all these things, it's so uncomfortable that I'll just go back to smoking because it's easier. Well, Tiger Woods worked through that discomfort. He worked through his game, his performance dropping because he didn't have mastery over the new swing. And when he mastered the swing, he was right back on top. And then at some point, even though he was on top with his new swing, he changed his swing again and he dropped, his performance dropped, and then he mastered the new swing and he was back on top. So if you're having a conversation about you're broken and you have all these bad habits, it's very difficult because when imagine if Tiger Woods thought he was broken, he changes his swing, his game goes down, he's going to say, I knew it. I knew I wasn't any good anyway. And look at what happens when I change my swing. I suck. And then that has you go right back to the things that were not in your best interest. So the language, so you're speaking he spoke a language of high commitment, high performance. Even though his game dropped, the language of Tiger Woods was still that I'm the champion. When I practice mastering this swing, all I have to do is unlearn the old swing, master the new one, because I am a champion and I have mastery. I just, whatever time it takes, a week, a month, whatever it is, I'll master this because I am a champion. That's a different language to speak than to say, I'm broken, I can't do anything right, there's something wrong with me, or it's something wrong with the whole system, or it's that person's fault. If I wasn't around those people, everything would be fine. It's so even though you're speaking English or Mandarin or Spanish, there's a language within it that really dictates how you see yourself, the world, and how you perform.
Yeah, so it sounds like success could actually become a trap in a sense.
Yes, yes. So I'm glad you said that. So people have asked me, how do you know a company is in trouble? And I say, because they're successful.
Because
You're
they're successful?
because they are because everything is going well, and we'll keep doing this because we're good at this, and we don't have to do anything else, and we'll keep doing it until one of your competitors makes you obsolete or the economy changes. You're in trouble if you're successful and you just keep driving down the same road and don't look at any other possibilities outside of that. You're in trouble. I mean, just think of the companies that made buggy whips 125 years ago. And they made the best buggy whips in the world, and life was great. And then Henry Ford makes the car affordable for most people, and who needs a buggy whip? Or the
Right.
market shrank.
Right, absolutely. So it's like people get kind of comfortable and
Successful. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And then they don't look at alternative ways of doing things.
Yeah. So a great example of a company that uh, worked through that was American Express. Do you know what their original business was? And they started in
No.
1850. 1850 is when they started. Uh,
Okay.
they they were a Pony Express company, the stagecoach, and they would deliver your gold from New York to Boston, and then they expanded Boston to D.C., New York to D.C., and then Atlanta, and then eventually Chicago, California. They were going everywhere. They were the largest Pony Express company in the world. And then this technology came out and cut their revenue in half, like overnight. You want to take a guess at what that technology that cut them in half, cut their revenue in half?
So if Pony Express, I'm having a blank, I'm drawing a blank in this moment, but I'll probably be kicking myself in a second.
And I need to say, the Pony Express was delivering gold and money for businesses. That's what they were delivering for people. And so
Okay,
that
so
gold,
that would be banking.
you're in a decent neighborhood, but yeah, they were delivering gold from one bank to another, to to a business, from a business to a bank. That's what they were delivering all over the country. But they started just New York to Boston, Boston. Um,
And so
the
the
money
the
order
credit card company, then the credit card was built.
much later. The post office created a money order, and you didn't,
Oh, ah,
and
yes.
it
Okay.
and it wiped out most of those Pony Express companies. What did American Express do? We'll make our own money order. And they did something else very clever. So we're already delivering gold and money from one place to another. Why don't we sell travel services? We can sell seats on that stagecoach. So We're already going from New York to Boston, and if you want to go, we have armed guards. It's the safest way to travel, and we'll sell you a seat. So now they're charging someone to deliver their gold, and I'm charging someone to pay to travel from New York to Boston in the safest way possible. And then they created their own money order. So all of this was brilliant. But if the other Pony Express companies, well, we're successful, we're delivering, the money order comes out, their revenue is chopped in half, and either they copy American Express and do travel services and create their own money order, or they eventually die out. But we still have companies that take money from banks uh, to other Federal Reserve or from businesses to banks. So we still have armored cars. So in a way, we still have Pony Express, but not as many as we used to have.
Right. And so you often talk about disruptive thinking. Can you tell the audience a little bit more about what that means?
Sure. So the money order would be a great example of disruption. They disrupted the entire Pony Express market. And so disruptive thinkers are looking at possibilities that don't exist. I know many people say there's nothing new under the sun, uh, but the money order didn't exist. Someone created that, and it solved a problem from having to deliver your money in a stagecoach. Now you can have this little piece of paper, and it guaranteed that your money was being delivered in the mail. So generally, most disruptions come from companies outside of your industry because everyone in your industry thinks the same way. They're all speaking the same language. They're all dealing with the same problems and using the same tools to solve them. And
Right.
someone outside of your industry they're not stuck with the conversations that you have about this is the problem, these are the solutions haven't worked, so we'll just keep doing what we're doing. The another example is looking at Apple Computer and Sony Walkman. People loved it. You put a cassette in, a disc, you have your Walkman, and you have a portable listening device. It was great. But for some reason, they didn't see the possibility of an MP3 player being an iPod.
Right.
Someone outside of their industry disrupted that. So a guy like Steve Jobs is a disruptor because essentially he's creating problems for his organization to solve. So when he says, hey guys, I want you to put 1,000 songs on a listening device. People are like, well, that makes no sense. How do we do that? Why are we getting in that business? Uh, Disruptive mindset, it's one coming up with the idea that's a problem to solve that no one has ever solved and perhaps haven't even thought of it. Uh, Two, your people may be confused and uncomfortable with the uncertainty of doing something they've never done in the past. And as a leader, it's really important to be able to navigate your people through that so that the project doesn't get derailed.
Right. 100%. You need that person that wholeheartedly believes in the new way of thinking to drive people towards that. I mean, we've all been in those situations where something has changed dramatically and we don't see the vision fully, but the person who is leading sees the vision fully, and then they kind of lead everyone through that and lead everyone essentially to water. Um, are there some common thinking patterns that quietly sabotage people?
Well, so let's look at Apple again. In 1983, Steve Jobs introduced something called the Newton, and it failed. It was
Hmm.
very disruptive. It made absolute no sense. In 1983, most people didn't have a computer on their desk at work, and most people surely didn't have a computer in their home. And now he's talking about this little device that essentially now is the iPad. Uh, it could fit into the palm of people's hands, and
Right.
people couldn't understand Why would anyone want a computer in the palm of their hand when they don't even have one at home or work? It was illogical. So people can be disrupted by their own logic uh, when something doesn't make sense to them, and it gets easily derailed.
And so that's another interesting question that I have is why do you think people defend these beliefs that they have and thinking patterns that aren't working anymore?
So if we look at it could be a couple of reasons, right? We look at the Newton that Steve Jobs created. People defend their existing territory. You're asking me to do something I don't know how to do, and I'm already an expert here. Uh,
Right.
so it doesn't make sense for me to do this. One, it could be a threat that because I'm not proficient, I might lose my job. So if I defend what I'm good at, I defend the home turf where I'm good and we'll keep doing it over and over. With, you could end up like the company making buggy whips. You're really good at that. Um, maybe you could have gone to making stick shifts for automobiles, but you made buggy whips, and you ended up being obsolete anyway. Uh, the other is, whatever it means to be what people call an American. I'm from the United States. English is my first language. My religion is this. I grew up in this neighborhood. We build an entire identity around that. And people protect their identity. Uh, if you tell me that being an American is bad, and uh, you go to other countries, people have opinions about people from the U.S. They think of people sitting in front of a television with a remote, and if you say that about me, I'm going to be upset. So uh, when you're asking people to do things that are outside of the identity they created, people tend to defend and protect that identity, even if it means they're wrong. They'd rather
Mm,
protect it and be right about the identity, because it to that person it could imply, wow, how could I not have seen that? I'm really stupid. And it's not that you're stupid.
right.
It goes back to thinking you're broken. You're not stupid, you're not broken, but we have these kind of automatic, almost like a machine, like this automaticity that if I don't know how to do something, I created an identity that's pretty smart. I'm an American, I'm well educated. If this was a good idea, someone would have thought of it a long time ago, or I would have heard of it. Uh, and so you tend to reject any new ideas. And I remember once having a conversation with a guy in the gym, and we were talking about something, and he said, "Well, I never heard of that, and neither has anyone in my family." I said, "So if you didn't hear of it in your family, you're saying it doesn't exist?" And he said, "That's right, it doesn't exist." So the people, that's a way to protect your identity. I'm smart, my family's smart. There's no way something would have gotten past us. So I'm going to pass on this new idea. I'm not going to participate, because if it was any good, I would have heard about it already. So I'm not going to help you innovate this thing that makes no sense to me.
Yeah, and I also think that people are afraid when there's no clear path or plan. So when the unknown is really scary and the human brain likes to, have a path and see a vision of how you're going to get to somewhere in the future. And so if you're not able to see that, then it's like you're sitting in a vulnerable spot because you don't have the answers. And so I think that's really hard on the human brain, because the brain was made it wants clarity. It wants to know what's going to happen. And when it everything changes, then it's like, uh-oh, now what? The body
Well,
doesn't
that
feel safe.
that goes back to me saying that the person may think they will get fired because they don't know how to do. You presented something, and they don't know how to do it, so they'll protect the home turf. So people generally make up stories in their head, and one of the stories, and I'm going to say it's what you just said, is the brain wants clarity. Um,
Hmm.
I'm asserting that's a myth. That that as a human being, we are masterful at dealing with uncertainty. But the conversations that exist are change is hard. The brain needs clarity. Uh, that's going to be fearful. And so we buy into it. That becomes a
Yeah,
language. That's the language that's not much different from saying I'm broken. So
right.
without clarity, I can't function. Why? Because I'm broken. So going to prove that we are masters of of managing and navigating uncertainty. Healthy human beings who are able to walk had zero certainty learning to walk. In fact, all the proof pointed to, I can't do this. You
Hmm.
fell, you wobbled, you're watching all of these other bigger kids and adults effortlessly walk across the floor. And here you are, stumbling, you fall, you hit your head, you have to hold on to something. So if you had the mindset of an adult, you would have said, I'm not good at this. I look really stupid. Get me a wheelchair. This walking thing, I'm not cut out for this walking thing. I'll just
Right.
roll myself around or get me a fancy remote to have an electronic wheelchair. So we masterfully navigated learning to walk. And we looked really bad, but we didn't know, we didn't have the language of something's wrong with me. I'm broken. I can't do this. Like we literally took a stand. We stood up and took a step and we didn't look good, but we didn't care about looking bad. We had more of this intention. I'm here and I want to get there. And we
Hmm.
walked. Same thing when we learned to talk. You said words and you said it incorrectly. The adults laughed. Uh, you hear lots of people who their parents spoke a second language, and because they didn't speak it as well, they tried to learn the second language as an adult or a teenager, and they said words wrong, and their parents laughed, and they said, "Well, I'm not going to learn it." So as infants, as toddlers, we don't have that mindset. We don't know about it yet. So we are clumsy learning to walk. We're clumsy learning to talk, even feeding ourselves. All these things that adults take for granted, uh, full of uncertainty when we first learned it. But yet we navigated that as masters until we do it without even, it seems like we're not thinking, but we do it.
Do you feel like one shift in perspective can really change someone's future?
Sure, sure. Um, there was a so I know a guy. He was in a Cub Scouts. He's 5 years old, and all the Cub Scouts had to make a little toy car, and his parents didn't help him, so he figured out how to do it on his own. And all the other kids showed up with their parents and they had this little ramp and they let their car go down the ramp. Well, he was proud of what he made, and all the kids had a car that rolled right down the ramp. And when he put his car in the ramp, it didn't roll because he literally nailed the wheels to the wooden car so they couldn't turn because they were nailed. So
Right.
when he put his car on it, it didn't go anywhere, and he thought, "I'm really stupid. Uh, I'll never do anything again without instructions. Without proper instructions, I'm not doing it." And he made that decision at 5 years old. He ended up going to the military because the military was the perfect place where they'll always tell him what to do. So the 5 year old in him uh, shaped every decision he made in his life. But he couldn't see that. He thought that was just who he was. Well, once he could see that, he could see why he was choosing a certain spouse. He had already had he was now on his third marriage. So his choice of a spouse was ingrained into this 5-year-old decision he made to not do anything on his own because he couldn't. So and and he also didn't want people dominating him. So if he chose a wife who was always telling him what to do, he would get a divorce because he didn't like that. Secretly, he didn't want to do anything unless someone was telling him how to do it.
Right.
So it puts you in conflict with yourself and then you now project that conflict on the other person. So once he could see the source of the genesis of where that mindset came, then he had the freedom to choose something else as opposed to
Mm.
continuing to be the 5-year-old Cub Scout. So that one shift can change your world and how you see yourself in every choice that you've made in your life. So yes, one can shift your entire life and how you relate to yourself. You no longer see that there's something wrong with you. You're not broken. Like all of these things just sort of disintegrate and free you up to now interact with the world.
So, Ted, you help companies create breakthroughs. And so, what exactly is a breakthrough?
Breakthrough is a possibility you would like to achieve, except you're not sure how to accomplish it with existing resources. So it's not something that you're already doing and you want to do it better. It's something you don't know how to do. It would
Mm.
be the Wright brothers were in the business of making bicycles, and then they went into their backyard and committed to making a flying machine, an airplane, and they didn't know how to do it. There was no blueprint except those men were highly committed to making it happen. And once they made it happen, that's the other thing the breakthrough does. It alters the future forever. So that airplane altered the future of mankind forever, their breakthrough.
Why do you think most breakthrough attempts fail?
All the things that we've been talking about.
Yeah,
The culture of an organization that says we don't do stuff like we don't we've never done that. Why are we doing it now? And it makes no sense. That's not the way we do things. Uh, it's uncertainty. It's going to make me obsolete. This is our identity as an organization. What we make computers. Why are we making portable listening devices? We make these desktops and laptops. Why would we make an iPod? And then Steve Jobs says, turn that into a cell phone. Like
right.
if you're stuck with the identity of the company, it's very difficult to make a leap from making these beautiful computers to making a cell phone. It's not logical. So people derail it because it makes no sense. It could make me obsolete because I'm not good at this. I don't see, as you were saying, I don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. Who's going to buy this? I don't know why we're messing around with this stuff.
Right, absolutely. What about fear? What role does fear play in all of this?
Uh, we're taught to fear looking bad. So going back to the toddler learning to walk, they don't have any fear of looking bad. So they
Right,
try anything and they'll look really goofy and they don't know anything about looking good or looking bad. So we're educated to be smart, to have the right answer. So that makes us look good. So we will do um, a lot of people will do anything if they know they can do it well.
right,
If you're, and that makes me look good. So it makes me look good at work. It makes me look good as a parent, um, as a, as a significant other to my friends, my social circle. I don't want to look stupid, but you have people like take Thomas Edison. He said, I didn't fail 10,000 times with the light bulb. I found 10,000 ways that didn't work. And
hmm,
how many people are willing to keep going after 100 failures, 1,000, 5,000? Like some people say, at some point, people say, hey, buddy, give it up. It's never going to work. and you're looking like an idiot now. So you quit while you're ahead. But to keep going over 10,000 times, a lot of people don't have the stomach for looking that bad. They'd rather do the things that they know they can do. So there's a fear of looking bad, and the undying commitment to do anything that makes them look good.
Absolutely. That's a fact. And that takes resilience and shutting off the noise, like really believing in your vision and not caring what other people think or say. And that is a amazing quality to have. And that's, I think, what defines successful people or what separates very successful people from the ones who aren't is that resilience and ability to fall down and say, hey, I was wrong. I'm going to get up and I'm going to do it again, but I'm going to try it this way now. Um, but there's often confusion between breakthroughs and breakdowns. And so, how do you know whether you're going through a breakthrough or if you're going through a breakdown?
Well, you actually want both. Like
Okay,
breakdowns come with breakthroughs. I mean, just think of when the founding fathers of the US declared independence from Great Britain. That was an automatic breakdown. Automatic. For one, Great Britain wasn't going for that. We're going to come in and straighten you guys out. And some of you may, as Benjamin Franklin made some kind of quote, either we hang together or we'll be hung together, something like that.
right.
Um, uh, we're a group of guys who have never run a nation, so that's a breakdown because we're committing to something that we don't even know how to do. We don't even have proof we can do it. How are we going to finance it? So when you declare this is the future, we're independent, you simultaneously just created a breakdown, because there's a gap between what you're saying, where you are, and what you say you want to accomplish. So,
Hmm.
so my work, resilience has a place. My work is not about resilience. It's about being able to dance in the middle of that breakdown and be powerful there. Just think if I use sports sometimes. In U.S. football, the running back is handed the ball. The defense is the absolute breakdown. They want to stop that running back. They want to crush that guy. His job is not to be resilient. His job is to navigate the breakdown that the defense is creating. And he does that by being nimble or being faster than the other team or more powerful that he can plow right through them. So he develops all of these capacities that allow him to be a professional, to be a high performer who can go right into the breakdown and navigate and come out on the other side with a touchdown. So
Right.
so when you are working with breakthroughs, breakdowns are built into it. And that's one of the main reasons why most breakthrough initiatives fail. The breakdowns are generally something you have never encountered because you're working on something you don't know how to do. So the problems, the chaos, the disruptions, the uncertainty usually will be something for which you are not prepared. You haven't been educated. Just look at the Wright brothers and flying. There was no blueprint. So if there's a breakdown in flying, we don't even have the skills and competencies to correct it. So we have to make this up. It's not that we're being resilient, it's being able to navigate in the eye of the storm and come out on the other end. Like in football, if the only thing you have is being resilient, you're going to get clobbered a lot. So
Yeah.
if you can navigate and be nimble enough so when the breakdowns occur, as opposed to saying something's wrong, um, you never lose sight of the goal line, the touchdown that you're after. So it's how do I move through that and in the gap where the where the breakdown and the chaos is. So the really like the core of my work is really being able to be in the breakdown and be powerful in that. And when you were asking about, what's the one thing that can change your life, like the guy who was a Cub Scout in a breakdown, he would say, "See, I knew I should have never done this on my own." And he would just quit. But he didn't know that was the 5-year old version of him talking. Once he can see that and that conversation comes back, now he's nimble enough to say, "Oh, wow, there's that 5-year old coming back. But what is it I'm really committed to?" So you have a choice. Before, he didn't have a choice. He just says, "This is who I am. It is what it is. And that's the way life goes." And but once you can see it, you see that you're not the 5-year old. It's a story you're making up in your head. And there's this thing to which you've committed and you can navigate through. So it's unlearning that 5-year old so that you're freed up and you're less likely to be inhibited by, and you're only inhibited by conversation.
Yeah, most people wait until life kind of forces change upon them. Um, but I also think that might be just language that we've been taught. I think we are in the middle of these breakdowns, and it seems like life forces us to change, but I think it's all kind of tied together. Like everything is falling apart so that we can build it back up again. Um, yeah, if someone listening to this is feeling really trapped right now, where do they begin?
One is question what you call your reality. You often hear people say, "My truth, my reality." Um, and when you say uh, change is hard. There are lots of things that you say. Start questioning yourself. Where did you learn this? How do you know this is a fact? How do you know these are things that you can't do? How do you know this is just who I am? So, what's possible outside? As soon as you start, when you're in the room alone, what are the things that you're saying to yourself? And start to question them. That's the place to start. Start to question yourself and what you think you're really good at and not good at. I know we talk about SWOT analysis and your strengths and weaknesses and threats, but most of the threats that people have in their life are really their own threats that happen inside of their own mind. And until you start questioning them, you will not know that I don't know. I think there's a movie, The Enemy Within. Like people talk about that. What's really derailing you are the things that you say to yourself.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, what is an action step that someone can take within the next 24 hours that can start changing things? So you talked about the thought process, but what are some action steps?
Commit to something. Commit to something. Sort of like the founding fathers. Declare, and not like a pipe dream, airy fairy. Like don't say I'm going to go to the moon and you've never been an aeronautics engineer. But what's that thing that you've always wanted to do? That probably it can be a hobby. I don't care if it's doing some work around the house. Like you can often start small and get the small wins. So the thing that you've always said you wanted to do and you're not sure how to do it, commit to that. Like really commit to it. Not sticking your toe in the water. And when you encounter the breakdowns, they'll often be unfamiliar to you. That's the place to start building new mental muscles and new capacities and new skills and competencies. So when the breakdown, so commit to that thing you've always wanted to do, and the breakdowns they happen. And I use the word breakdown because we are taught to be afraid of words like problems, breakdowns, disruption. But those are places to build new muscles, new skills, new competencies. So take them on. And if you need support from someone who has those skills and competencies, engage those people.
So Ted, I want you to tell people more about the work that you do, but I'm curious, what is one belief that you've had to disrupt in your own life?
That I need beliefs.
That you need beliefs?
Yes,
Hmm.
I don't believe in anything. I don't even believe everything I just said, and I don't even believe that I don't believe anything. But once we believe in things, it that generally has a grip on us, and it's beliefs are things that are very difficult to get out of because
Mm.
it's attached to our identity. We think that's who we are, and it's almost like there's an attack in saying you don't know what you're talking about. So I can stand for the things that I'm saying to you today. I stand for it, and I've seen the effectiveness. I've seen the transformation in the lives of others. If there's something that I'm doing that's inappropriate and someone presents a more effective way, I'm not married. I'm not so attached to what I have that I can't see some other possibility. And so what that allows for is constant learning for me.
Yeah, the belief that you know nothing, essentially. Um,
Well,
I think it's the
so
people who are so stuck in their ways that struggle, right? Because they're not willing to see any other way.
here's another way to look at that. When we learned to walk, we didn't have to believe we could walk.
Hmm.
We walked. So if accomplishment is dependent on your belief, you're less likely to do it. But if as a toddler you're okay with falling and wobbling, you even though the proof says you can't and you commit to it, you take that stand. So learning to walk does not require belief. So as human beings, we all healthy human beings who can walk have that capacity of accomplishing something without believing they can or believing in anything. They stand for it and really commit to it. And that's so suspending beliefs gets you back to that toddler that is able to learn and absorb new things and do things that you don't know how to do.
Tell everyone more about the work that you do and where they can find you.
Sure. Uh, in a light way, I'm in the business of producing miracles. CEOs, they hire me when they are looking to create a breakthrough and they're not sure how to do it with their existing resources. And I work with them to create disruptive strategies and transform corporate culture to ensure the culture doesn't sabotage that breakthrough initiative. Uh, some simple ways some people can say an executive coach. I work with people who are high performers looking for that next level or someone who's in a rut. I've worked in both corporations and individuals. You can find me on LinkedIn. I have a YouTube page, and Twitter. But my LinkedIn, you can easily get a hold of me there. There's a way to find me. Get a hold of me on LinkedIn or my webpage, which is turnaroundip.com, and IP is like intellectual property.
And we will have that link down below in the show notes as well, so people can click on your LinkedIn or web page. Um, Ted, thank you so much for being here today and for being a disruptor. We need disruptors in this world and helping people disrupt their business or life is what creates change. So amazing work. What is something that you want people to remember from today's conversation if they were only to take away one special thing?
No one's stuck with who they are. No one. So when people say, well, I am who I am and this is just the way I am, that's one of those conversations when you're in a room alone that you can question and start to ask, who is it you really want to be? And start taking steps towards that.
Amen to that. What a beautiful reminder and what a great episode today. So thank you so much for showing up and for being here. and like for spreading your knowledge. Such an interesting conversation. Thank you so much for being here.
No, my pleasure. Thanks for inviting me. Thank you.
And so thank you to our audience for tuning in. So, like we talked about today, and Ted so brilliantly illustrated, maybe the problem isn't the circumstances or the people around you or the economy or your age or your past or your luck. Maybe the next level of your life requires you to have a new level of thinking because every breakthrough begins with a disruption. And sometimes the life you're looking for is waiting on the other side of a belief you're finally willing to let go and to challenge. We will have Ted Santos's information linked below so you can learn more about the work that he does and call him up. Maybe you're in the need for a disruption yourself. Have a good day, everyone, and thanks so much for tuning in. Bye for now.